magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Welcome sa 5th episode ng Kapihan with My Sis, ang talk show para sa ating mga kababaihan. Ako po si Carrie.
At ako po si Naj.
So, ang episode po natin ngayong hapon sobrang special. Today, kung nakikita nyo, kulay namin ni Naj today coordinated. Because today, we remember one of the best, if not the best Filipino president ever. And walang sarcasm doon. Seryoso yon. President PNoy Aquino. Fondly called PNoy by everyone. Ngayong araw na ito, ika-3 linggo na po ng pagpanaw ni PNoy. Although 3 weeks na, marami pa rin sa atin ang nalulungkot. Kasama na ako dyan. Parang ang hirap nung idea na parang wala na siya, yung hindi mo na siya makikita. Parang he kind of shied away from from public appearances, hindi siya masyadong lumalabas. Pero parang iba yung pakiramdam na nandyan pa rin sana siya. Yeah. Di ba, Naj?
Yes. Ako din, Carrie, actually hanggang ngayon ay parang hindi ko pa matanggap na wala na si PNoy. Ang lungkot. Akala ko pa naman ay may chance ako na makilala siya in person. It's unfortunate that I will never meet him. Although malungkot tayo sa pagpanaw niya, we should remember him in happiness. Thus, our show today is about celebrating his life, his time, and his legacy. And I think we have a slideshow for that.
So, ang dami nating, over the past several days, ang dami nating napanood, nababasa tungkol kay PNoy as a person. And marami rin na tungkol sa kanyang pakikitungo sa ating mga kababayan. Yung relationship talaga sa trabaho and yung mga taong katrabaho niya, particularly yung mga kababaihan. To help us answer the question, guest natin ngayon ang isa sa mga pinakamalapit na tao kay PNoy. She was his assistant presidential spokesperson. So ito yung isa sa mga pinaka-familiar faces ng PNoy administration. So she's here with us today. We're very lucky to have her. She's none other than Attorney Abby Valte. Hi, Abby.
Hello.
Hi, Abby.
Hello. Hey, Naj. Good afternoon sa mga nakikinig sa atin dito sa sa programa ninyo.
Welcome to our show. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Abby. I'm sure ang daming gustong malaman. Kamusta si Sir as a boss?
Si Sir? Nauna yung tawa ko, di ba? Kasi yung totoo, mahirap siyang boss. Kasi sorry, minsan nagsuswitch pa rin ako between is and was kasi nga I'm not used to talking about him in the past tense. So mahirap siyang boss kasi he demands a certain level of work from his staff and his fellow workers in government. So, mapa-cabinet secretary or director, executive assistant, driver, very particular si sir about how things are done. It's not that it's done his way, it has to be done right. Yun yung lagi niyang sinasabi. Frequent refrain yan. I remember the first time he got his paycheck as president, pinakita niya yan yung cheque ng sweldo niya. And, he used to remind us na yung trabaho natin, taong bayan ang nagpapasweldo sa atin. So the least we can do for them is to do our work right. So in that sense, very mataas ang level of expectation ni PNoy sa mga staff niya.
That's good.
So, ano siya, no? Exacting siya sa mga, yeah.
Yes. Very exacting, very demanding. Demanding in the way na kailangan, hindi pwede na. Or yung parang medyo half-baked na lang. Medyo half-baked yung trabaho mo. Hindi pwede sa kanya yan. Pag nakita niyang kulang yung effort, talagang sasabihin niyang bakit ganito to.
Yeah. And I've also heard stories na ano talaga siya, very particular siya sa mga details.
Very particular. Pag may numero sa slide mo, kailangan tama.
Yes.
Kasi,
I heard that.
eto, I'll give you an example. Parang may sinabi siya na at the time there was heightened tension between North Korea and South Korea. And we were preparing to evacuate Filipinos. So sabi niya, okay, ilan ang Filipino sa South Korea? So sumagot, 55,000. Ilan ang tao sa North Korea? May Pilipino ba sa North Korea? So may sumagot, 7 po yata. Sabi niya, anong yata? Bakit hindi natin alam? Hindi pwedeng 7 yata, kailangan eksakto. 'Di ba? 7 na nga lang yan, yata pa. Ganun yung sinabi niya. So talagang very siya dyan. Parang pag may sinabi sa kanya, he will not accept it at face value. Titignan niya talaga kung ginawa mo or naintindihan mo yung kailangan mong ipaliwanag sa kanya.
Especially something like that kasi syempre buhay ng tao yun eh. Pag sinabi mong 7 yata, yung pala may 8 na iwan yung isa, di ba?
Yes, exactly.
So,
exactly.
yeah.
So, sakto siya.
Yeah. Pero for me, although very exacting siya or he demands a certain level of expectations sa kanyang mga staff, I don't see him as a boss kasi hindi naman siya bossy in the sense na he's bossing on. Yes, he's expecting na kailangan gawin natin yung trabaho natin ng tama. Pero I see him as a leader kasi kumikilos din siya and he unites the people. So naturally, people love working with him because he is fair and balanced. Yung degree lang kasi ng level ng expectation niya kasi syempre, like what you said, taong bayan, para taong bayan ito. So, kaya siguro, kaya ganun siya ka-detailed sa kanyang trabaho.
I think, Nudge, to a point, tama yung distinction eh. Boss siya, pero hindi siya kasi bossy. Diba? Hindi lang siya nag-uutos. Kasama namin yan, kung may issue, alam namin nasa office pa rin siya. Hindi yung kayo lang yung nagtatrabaho na pag may inuto siya, alis na siya, uwi na siya. Hindi siya ganon. Alam namin na nandun pa rin siya sa office niya. Alam namin may mga kausap pa rin siya. So to use a phrase, no, he was in the trenches with us. He was not a parachute kind of boss, at least to us. So, tsaka di ba nakakahiya na kung yung presidente nagtatrabaho pa, parang wala kang karapatang umuwi eh. Wala kang karapatang hindi galingan yung trabaho mo. Kasi kung siya nag-aaral, siya nagbabasa,
That's right.
dapat ikaw din, di ba?
Tama. And so, Attorney Abby, so my question ako. So, how did PNoy treat his female staff and the women in his cabinet? And how about yung mga babaeng senators and congresswomen?
Well, si PNoy kasi was raised by his parents to be very traditional also. Meaning, meron bang binatang Pilipino? Parang pwede ba yun? Siya he's very respectful of women. But it's not lip service. yung pagpapahalaga niya sa kababaihan apparent. Kasi kung tama ang alala ko, 13 ang cabinet secretary sa gabinete niyang babae. And these are not token positions, ha. These are talagang line departments. These are really key and valuable roles in his government. Of course, Secretary Gindeles, Secretary Dinky Soliman, Secretary Laila de Lima, si Secretary Julia Abad, ang dami, si Sec Meli Nicolas, si Sec Lou Antonino. I mean, he put his money where his mouth is, essentially, when it came to gender equality. On a personal note, si Sir kasi mahilig yan kapag kakain na, he will always get up and offer everybody to eat. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nauna siyang tumayo, ay nauna siyang kakain. Ang ibig sabihin lang nun, sasabihin niya doon sa mga kasama naming kababaihan na ladies first. And it's real. Hindi siya talaga kawawa minsan yung mga kasama naming lalaki kasi feeling namin tirik na yung mata nila. Nakikipag-agawan pa kami. Siyempre, mahihiya ka, di ba? If the president says, eat, ikaw naman, no sir, please go ahead. Sino ba naman ako, di ba? Presidente, so sir, mauna ka na. Ayaw niya. He will really not, he will not have it. So, early on, may 5 minutes na lahat ng babae, hindi po sir, kayo na po. Tapos sasabihin niya, hindi, kayo na, ladies first. So, minsan talagang natuto na lang kami nung tumagal na sorry ha, ang ingay ng alaga akong pusa. Sweetheart, wag kang maingay. Ayun. So, sorry, ang dami kong cat kasi sa bahay. 10, alam ni Carrie yan. So, ayun, yun yung, to him, again, it wasn't just lip service. He valued the voices of women in his cabinet, especially in his life, yung mga staff niya talagang that have been with him for the longest time. Ano yan, panatag siya. Alam niyang capable, pinahahalagahan niya. Kasi even si Ate Yoli actually ang pinaka-close talaga sa kanya. Tsaka si Yusek Rochelle. So, he valued women in that way. Yun nga lang, unfortunately, hindi talaga nagkaroon ng kabiyak si Sir, di ba? Pero he was surrounded by strong women all his life.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that na if you notice yung list nung, 'di ba, yung list ng mga cabinet secretaries niya na female are actually strong, empowered women, 'di ba? And the fact then that you were at the forefront of everything, 'di ba? Na parang there was no hesitation na okay lang for you to speak in his behalf, 'di ba? And is already telling, 'di ba, as to how he values and respects, the role of women.
And alam mo, isa pang ako that was always interesting to me because I was young. I was young once. I was young when I joined government. I was only 29. And to be fair to the former president, he never asked kung, alam mo yung, minsan kasi, di ba sasabihin pag babae, maganda ba yan? Yung haharap ba sa camera yan, maganda ba yan? He never asked that. He never asked for a picture. He never asked for a demo video of any sort. Basta nakita niya yung qualifications, okay. So, doon pa lang parang na-appreciate ko yung tiwala dahil unang-una hindi naman ako, that was my first time in government when I joined the administration. And second, parang sa kanya, hindi yung tiwala, hindi siya nakapeg kung matanda ka or bata. So talagang yung qualifications yung tinitingnan niya.
That's good. And that's how it should be, based on capabilities. At saka actually, never ko siya nakita na ng bastos ng babae, kahit sa public. So, wala kang nababalitaan na gano'n sa kanya. Walang scandal na gano'n. So, yeah.
Never. In fact, ang lagi niyang, meron, nung kampanya in 2009, may preference siya na ayaw niya na media relations ay babae. Bakit? It wasn't because he didn't think na kaya, pero siya, na kapag nasa sortie, natatakot siya na baka maiwan. So, pag lahat sasakay na sa kotse, ang iniisip niya, nasa na si yung babae sa staff lagi ang hinahanap niya, binibilang, hini-head count niya to make sure na hindi naiiwanan, hindi nawawala. So at the back of his head, he was always very mindful of his of the women in his staff.
That's
Okay,
good.
grabe. Ang daming new info about Sir. Ang daming new info about PNoy. But before we continue with Attorney Abby, let us introduce our other guests. Okay, we have Belay from Hong Kong at saka si Dai from Maykawayan, Bulacan. Tinanong natin sila kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng bawal ang wangwang, which is isa sa mga popular policies ni PNoy.
Walang wangwang. Sa unang pagkakadinig ko, napangiti ako at napatanong sa aking sarili, ano ito? Makakatulong at makakaapekto ba ito sa akin at sa pang-araw-araw ng aking pamumuhay? Gayon din sa mga ordinaryong Pilipino na tulad ko ay wala namang sariling sasakyan. Pero bakit bigla ako nakadama sa puso ko ng sobrang saya at sobrang proud bilang isang Pilipino? Dahil ang simpleng programa na sinimulan at pinatupad ni PNoy ay sumasalamin at nagpapakita na dapat sa batas ay patay-patay. Walang mahirap, walang mayaman. Lalo na sa mga taong nasa gobyerno na ang tunay na layunin ay paglingkuran ng sambayan ng Pilipino. Simple lang siya kung titingnan, pero dahil sa walang wangwang, naramdaman ko at ng sambayan ng Pilipino ang pagkakapantay-pantay sa lansangan, anuman ang status o antas ng pamumuhay ng bawat isa. Salamat din.
Ang isang taong nagtatrabaho sa gobyerno, naging inspirasyon ko at pamantayan sa aking trabaho ang uri ng paglilingkod sa bayan ni President PNoy Aquino. Kahit pa siya ay nahalal bilang pinakamakapangyarihang tao sa bansa, hindi siya umabuso o nabalabis bilang presidente.
Na-touch naman ako sa sinabi ni Belay at ni Dai. Let's get back to Attorney Abby. Attorney Abby, can you share with us some untold stories about PNoy as a person and as a president?
Naku, marami yan eh. Marami siya talagang in the 6 years as president and also syempre after he stepped down and became a private citizen. He was this one at the beginning of his presidency, there was a conversation about who he would stay as president. His preference was really to stay at Times Street. Ayaw niya to move to the palace. And for a while, it was really a long conversation because people could not convince him to move. We have to remember that former President Cory Aquino stayed in residence, not in Malacanang, but in Arlegui. So, more or less, may ganun siyang track din, but he wanted to stay in Times. The only reason he was convinced to really move to Bahay Pangarap was, basta ang dami na nilang binigay na reason kasi sir, baka matraffic kayo, baka, di ba, magko-commute pa kayo, back and forth, parang hassle. Ayaw niyang tanggapin. The only reason that made him budge was when someone mentioned to him, parang, Noy, kawawa naman yung mga kapitbahay mo sa Times. Kasi kapag doon ka tumira, syempre mahihirapan din sila kasi yung security mo, hindi naman pwedeng makakadaan, di ba? Ang daming security measure syempre and harap nun kalye mismo. So isipin mo, kawawa naman yung mga kapitbahay mo na maaabala. Ayun na, that was the magic word. Naisip na niya na oo nga, no, nakakahiya sa mga kapitbahay ko. So, he moved to Bahay Pangarap. So, yun yung mga little things, yung mga considerations niya talaga na parang he wasn't, pag naisip niya at na-realize niyang may iba na palang taong maaapektuhan, iisang tabi na niya yung gusto niya. The other thing as president, ano yan, kasi dati sa Kalayaan Hall, di ba nandun yung Malacanang Museum, tumatanggap kasi ng mga guided tour. So he approved that when he was president. It's up to any president kasi kung papayag ka na may regular tours doon sa Kalayaan Hall. So pumayag siya. Tapos minsan, bigla na lang siyang susulpot. Kapag alam niyang may nagtutour, lalo kapag mga estudyante or mga high school kids, pag nalaman niya yan, bigla na lang siyang lalabas sa pinto. Tapos magugulat na lang yung mga bata na, si PNoy ba talaga yun? And, he would join them for a while, and then he would give his personal insight na, ito, libro to ni President Aguinaldo, ito yung ginamit niya. So, yun yung mga things I think na hindi nakita rin ng publiko sa kanya when he was president. And he was very deliberate because he respected the office very much. And alam niya na hindi to joke hindi to playtime. Hindi tayo nagtitripan lang dito. So he took it very seriously and acted accordingly, which I think unfortunately for some people they took that as medyo cold siya, medyo unemotional siya. We always found that strange, but we understood kasi talagang iba yung level ng respeto niya dun sa trabaho niya. Sineryoso na yun talaga.
I guess it's also knowing that, you're just there for a very limited amount of time and you have so much to do and so much to accomplish, 'di ba? May
Oo.
deadline pa.
Oo, at saka we all had a calendar kasi na parang the moment na nag-June 30, 2010, napansin na lang namin na as, weeks went on, weeks pa lang hindi pa months, parang bigla siyang ilang araw na lang tayo dito. So, nagpa-countdown siya talaga. So, syempre, ang hirap mag-compute, diba? So, ginawa na lang namin, nag-prepare kami ng calendar na 1 page, 1 day, tas nakalagay yung date to day, kung ilang araw pa yung natitira to June 30, 2016. So every day, tanggal namin yung yung paper for that day. Yung ibang cabsec naman, meron silang parang countdown app sa phone nila. Para nakikita lang nila agad na, okay, ilang araw pa ba tayo dito? So, it was really that. Kumbaga, he never entertained. Kasi di ba usually every president naman may usapang chatsa. Di ba? Term extension.
Yes.
Si PNoy talagang, anong term extension? Nagbibilang na nga ako ng araw hanggang makaalis ako dito, term extension pa. So yeah, I think I have a picture of that. I'll share it with you ladies after. But meron yan yung picture ng kalendaryo niya.
Ang cute nga nung yung photo, there was this photo posted by Secretary Dinky Soliman on January 1, July 1, 2016. Naka siya. Ang term lang talaga na naiisip ko is nakasalampak siya sa isang sobrang comfortable na upuan, surrounded by some of the members of the cabinet, di ba? Na parang, okay, day 1, relax. Day 1 ng pagre-relax.
Oo,
diba?
chill na lang siya. Chill na siya.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the fact that he's really mindful of other people na lagi niyang iniisip yung mga nasa surroundings niya, hindi yung gusto lang niya talaga. So, yeah.
Mm-mm.
I guess sobrang fitting nga sa kanya yung di ba, yung after, I think there were lots of stuff that came out which says that mission accomplished na din kasi for him. So parang, kasi talagang he was able to do a lot of things within that short period of time. So, talaga.
Oo. Agree ako doon na mission accomplished, quota na talaga si Sir. Kasi, siya he was not one, and I learned this phrase from him, he was not one to kick the can down the road. Pag merong pinesend sa kanyang problema, kasi as president, you can always say, saka na yan. Huwag na nating galawin yan.
Yeah.
Leave it to somebody else. He wasn't like that. Parang ayaw niya meron siyang example dyan na parang hindi ka pwedeng yung parang ahensya ng gobyerno na pag yung papel dumating sa'yo, ipapasa mo sa iba.
Yes.
Tapos pag iikot-ikutin mo yung aplikante, kasi yung pala dapat ikaw talaga. Or, sige, doon ka muna, yun yung ayusin mo. Ayaw niya ng ganon. Gusto niya, pag umabot na sa kanya, let's find a solution. Kung paano natin to. Wag nating hindi pansinin. And I think of all the problems that were given to him, he tried to find a solution for everyone within the time that he could. Kumbaga hindi siya tumanggi, hindi niya sinabing problema na ni X yan. Wala naman siyang ganon. So that's really time consuming, di ba? I mean, to think about so many problems, but yeah, it was the way that he was, that let's not kick the can down the road. Kung kayang solusyonan, gawa natin ang paraan ngayon.
And it really speaks volume to his character. So he is, kumbaga, like you said, he took his job seriously. And so it shows na yung character niya talaga na mapapagkatiwalaan mo siya, na talagang gagawin niya talaga lahat para sa mga Pilipino kasi mahal niya tayo. So.
Tsaka ano kasi si Sir I mean, even when he was president, nagdadala siya sa sarili niyang wallet. Hindi parang, bakit may dala kang wallet? I mean, to me, it sounded alien because obviously, you see senators, congressmen, yung gano'n na parang very, syempre, surrounded by staff. Pero to me, that was such a regular thing for him to do. That he carried his own wallet. At pag naglabas siya ng wallet, may laman. Yung ganong thing. Kasi mahilig yan mahilig yan manlibre. Lalo kapag nalaman niya may staff na may birthday, tapos nasa labas kayo, alika, birthday mo daw kain tayo, saan mo gusto. Ayun, tapos manlilibre siya. I mean, he was very, that way. He was very simple naman that way. So yun lang, I found it odd that there's a head of state that carries his own wallet.
That's good though. That's very nice of him. So, panlibre nga naman. But thank you, Attorney Abby. Carrie?
Yeah, salamat Abby. Sayang maikli yung ating time together. Ang dami pa sanang masayang pwedeng pagkwentuhan, no? Looking back and remembering Sir. But I think it is quite refreshing na kasi ang dami nakasulat 'di ba? Parang ang daming nagsulat. I think a lot of people were really inspired to talk about how it was like, 'di ba, nung to serve with this president. And it's quite refreshing to actually just talk about it, 'di ba? Iba yung nababasa, iba yung ganitong pinagkukwentuhan natin. So thank you for all these insights and stories, Abby. Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank
you. And
Thank you.
Thank you. And first-hand experience pa talaga galing sa iyo. So we really appreciate it. So thank you talaga for sharing him with us. So.
Okay. Thank you, Naj. Thank you, Car. Thank you, everybody
Thank
behind
you,
the show.
Thank you, Attorney Abby.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Right, ang interesting ng mga naikwento ni Attorney Abby. Parang feeling ko ang dami pang pwedeng pagkwentuhan and pwedeng pag-usapan tungkol dun sa, di ba, dun sa 6 years ni Sir. Yes. So, tapos alam mo ba, ito pa yung mga, di ba, yung mga stories, no? Ang mahilig si Sir sa sports. I mean, di ba, he's not your typical jock. Pero I mean, hindi naman ganong klaseng sports, no? He likes unusual sports, shooting, firing, di ba? Billiards.
Yeah.
Tapos he also likes esports. So mga video games ito, 'di ba? I'm not so familiar with esports, pero but he was very popular na 'di ba? Na mahilig siya sa firing.
Yes.
He's always in the shooting range, 'di ba?
Yes. And like I said, kulang sa oras kasi nakakatuwa pakinggan si Attorney Abby. Pero yes, mahilig si PNoy sa target shooting. I mean, who would have known? And actually, expert siya. Magaling siya. And also, isa din ang hilig ni PNoy ay mahilig din siyang kumanta. And so, and I think we may have a video. May video tayo yata nun na ipapakita. Nakakatuwang panoorin si Pinoy na kumakanta, honestly. Um,
Sa mga sa mga party events, yung mga
mhm,
events ng partido, yung mga maliliit na pocket events. Parang mas
mhm,
gusto nga niya yun kaysa yung mga malalaki na bongga na mga parties. Kasi
yeah.
nagja-jamming session talaga. And I think there was one jamming session pa with Gov Kaka Bagaw. Tapos,
Oh,
bubisitin ka, binubwisit niya talaga. Tatawagin niya, Kaka, halika dito. Ganyan, sir, wag na, ganyan. Sir, halika dito, kakanta tayo. So, yun, nag-duet sila.
mhm.
Yung mga ganon.
Eh,
Mahilig talaga siyang
yeah. And according sa kanyang sister, ang lagi niya pinakikinggan na kanta ay Minsan ang Minahal Ay Ako. And I think it was an original song of Celeste Legaspi, I think. And did you also know that he loved classic cars? That when he saw the many presidential cars sa garahe ng Malacanang, ay tinanong niya ang National Museum na i-restore at i-display ang mga ito sa public so that the public can appreciate them para ma-enjoy naman ng lahat. So at least nakakatuwa na hindi niya sinasolo yung kanyang
toys.
mga perks, yeah.
Yung kanyang toys for
So
the big boys.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah, balik tayo dun sa songs Alam mo bang meron sa Spotify na Pinoy playlist?
Oh, I did not know that.
There
Sige,
is
hanapin ko yun.
on Spotify.
That's good to
Anyway,
know. Sa Pinoy playlist,
yes,
hanapin ko
FYI.
yun.
Oo, may iba pa tayong guests. So sila
Mhm.
Catherine from Caloocan at saka si Belle Dore from Davao de Oro. Tinanong
Mhm.
natin sila tungkol sa pagkakaintindi nila sa sinabi ni Pinoy na kayo ang boss ko.
Mhm.
Ang pagkakaintindi ko dito ay pakikinggan niya ang bawat Pilipino at sisikapin niya na magawa ng solusyon ang bawat hinaing ng mga tao. Sa nakita ko hindi lang sa salita, kundi sinagawa at sinapuso ng Pinoy ang kanyang mga binitawang salita. At damang-dama ko ang kanyang pagmamalasakit. Ginawa niya ang kanyang trabaho ng tahimik at walang reklamo. Salamat President Pinoy sa tapat na paglilingkod mo sa aming bayan. Hindi ka namin malilimutan at mananatili ka sa aming puso. Salamat at paalam.
Mo ni mga project ni PNoy Dor.
Mm,
Mo yung nagustuhan ako sa iyaha.
working,
Kay working president
siya,
ni
no?
siya.
Mm,
Mga-
pila ka ba label?
Mga 5,000 ni or 10K ni siya ka mga babahay niya nga iyang gihatag sa iyang administrasyon.
Mm.
Wapay labot ang kuan na ni Compostela sa Montevista lang ni siya.
Saan yung bataan?
Naa po didto.
Ah, all in all, mas na siguro sa mga 10K.
10K, 15K ni siya ka mga pabahay
Ito
nga
po yung
gihatag.
ito po yung ano, project ni Pinoy, no?
Oo, mo ni siya.
So, very interesting and very touching ang sinabi ni Catherine, Belle, at Dory. We have heard stories about the kind of person Pinoy was. Pero alam mo ba na Pinoy made lifelong friends among people he met in the course of his life? Marami sa kanila ay naging ka-textmate niya during and after his presidency. For example, ang singer na si Noel Cabangon, si Father Jet Valerian, SJ at si Jose Morales, siya yung leader ng ULAP, which is an urban poor group from Quezon City na tahimik na tinulungan ni Pinoy until pumanaw si Jose last year noong February 24, 2020. Pinoy is also known to have a simple taste in clothes. Simple lang siya manamit at hindi magarbo halos sa lahat ng bagay. Diba, Carrie?
Hindi lang sa clothes, pati sa food. Bigyan mo lang siya ng chicharon at saka Coke, okay na siya. Masaya na siya noon. I
Yes.
remember his sortie in Cebu. Ang
Mhm.
ang requirement lang na ihanda namin was chippy at saka Coke.
Wow.
Kailangan
That's
namin
it?
saka Coke siya, masaya na siya. Parang gano'n. Pero
Pero
syempre,
masarap yun, ah.
well, oo, ako din, di ba? Gusto ko rin
Yeah.
ng chippy at saka Coke.
Yeah.
So,
Gusto
ano
ko
yun,
yung chippy.
I remember that, yung pasakay ng plane, he was,
Mhm.
pumila siya. And it didn't really matter to him kung nasa ang part siya ng pila. So sabi ko nga, oh my God, so baka protocol, si sir, baka protocol nightmare si sir. Pero, well, he was essentially a private citizen na at that time. So, pila siya, di ba, it doesn't matter where. Tapos, well, he flew commercial. And
Yeah.
siksikan yung plane, pero okay lang, di ba? Kumakain siya ng cup noodles doon sa kasi it was a budget flight. Di ba? So,
Yeah.
pero yeah, ganon. Except for the need to follow certain protocols na required, kasi, di ba? It was not difficult, di ba, to have him around. Parang ganon. So, kasi nga, chicharon lang
And
talaga. Pinatake ko
nakakatuwa actually na napaka-simple na lang niya na hindi niya kailangan ng maraming entourage, hindi niya na kailangan ng special treatment, na kailangan o VIP, di ba? Simple-simple lang talaga. Actually, his former staff even said na minsan butas pa ang kanyang damit pero hindi niya ito ibinalandra. Kumbaga, hindi niya ginamit ito. Simple siyang tao pero tahimik siya.
And
So,
nagkakatay siya ng list. Like,
oh
if,
wow.
yung, kunyari, may foreign trip. Kasi foreign trips always have this impression na laging junket yan. Di ba? Ganyan. So, although, actually, karamihan, marami naman sa foreign trips are really official trips. No? There are really things that need to get done. Apparently, sir would check the list, not just once, twice, I don't know how many times, and he would try to limit as much as possible the people who will be joining di ba? Nililimitahan niya yung mga sasama doon sa biyahe.
Kumbaga,
Kasi nga naman gastos.
bawas tao, bawas gastos.
Exactly. Bawas tao, bawas
Yeah.
gastos. Tapos
Yeah.
food, di ba? Pag nandun sa di ba? Pag sila nagyaya daw ng kakain, excited sila kasi akala nila parang Japan yun or something. Tapos tinala daw burger. McDonald's pa, di ba? So, parang
Kahit nga sa US pag pumupunta siya ng US, fast food lang din or pizza lang siya Hotdog, pizza, masaya na siya. Yeah. So,
I think that's also why, he's humble and he's considerate. And I think, gusto rin niya mabigyan ng opportunities yung mga kabataan, di ba? If you would, kagaya nung kinuwento ni Attorney Abby kanina, she was how old? She was 29. Diba?
Yeah.
And it was about merits Diba tinignan kung hindi tinignan kung ilang taon siya, diba? And she was supposed to be the assistant spokesperson pero wala siyang pakialam how she looks like. Diba?
Yes.
Pero ang tinignan is yung credentials niya. Diba kaya ba niya 'tong trabaho? Magagawa ba niya 'to? So, I think isa yun sa mga dahilan kung ba't nag-gravitate sa kanya. Kasi ang daming kabataan na sumama sa gobyerno nung panahon na yun
Panahon niya. Yes.
Oo, ang daming nag-serve sa government. Parang magnet yung gobyerno nun. For some reason, parang may malaking wave ng mga kabataan na nag-serve sa government during his administration.
Yeah. And hindi lang siya nag-encourage ng young professionals actually. He visited schools din kanina nga sa ating slideshow, di ba? He is seen reading to a student or helping a young student read a book. So, yung focus siya talaga sa ating kabataan kasi he really knows na in order for our country to become better, we have to start with our young ones, di ba? Kumbaga. So, but I like the fact na he encouraged yung mga young professionals natin.
Yes. And I think isa sa ang mga kinukwento kasi ng mga malalapit sa kanya before, mga nagtrabaho directly with him, was that ang nagustuhan nila was the idea na pwedeng minsan mali yung decision or pwedeng minsan mali yung basa sa mga bagay-bagay. Pero na-appreciate nila yung idea na may ginagawa. Alam mo yun, I mean, there was
Yes.
that effort talaga to try to do what's right. 'Di ba? At
Yes.
at maglabas ng resulta in the process. Parang ganun. So yun yung, I think that's also one of the reasons. Kasi they stayed eh. Hindi ito yung nagkaroon ng wave ng pumasok sa gobyerno and in a year or two nag-alisan yung mga tao. Hindi eh. Parang nagstay talaga sila eh. Oo. Meron pa yata mga nandoon pa hanggang ngayon. Pero quite a lot, I think, left. And the sentiment is that it's not the same. So,
Yes.
yeah, oo.
It's not the same. But at this point, thank you, Attorney Carrie. But at this point, pakinggan natin ang message ni VP Lenny tungkol kay PNoy.
Hello ulit sa lahat ng sumusubaybay sa Kapihan with my sis. Nitong mga nakaraang linggo, bumuhos sa mga newsfeed natin yung iba't ibang tribute at kwento tungkol kay PNoy. Kwento ng mga kaibigan at dating katrabaho sa gobyerno, kwento hindi lang ng mga kaalyado at kapartido, pero pati na rin ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino na na-inspire at nagbalik tanaw sa mabuti niyang pamumuno. Alam ko particularly gratifying ito para sa mas marami sa inyo, para sa atin, na tinitingnan ng sarili bilang kahanay sa mga paniniwala niya. Kilala natin siya. Alam natin ang mga ipinaglaban niya at nakakadurog ng pusong makita in the past 5 years or more yung orchestrated efforts to tarnish his legacy, attack his character, and undermine his achievements. Yung masakit para sa atin, I'm sure, siya rin, nakaramdam ng pagtataka kung bakit parang ang daling nakalimot ng taong bayan. Ang malinaw ngayon, hindi nakalimot ang taong bayan. Nalito lang siguro, pero sa isang sulok ng puso nila, alam nila ang totoo. With PNoy's death, parang nayanig ang damdamin ng lahat. In the process, naipagpag din nila ang mga kasinungalingan na lumaganap nitong mga nakaraang taon. Ngayon, lumilinaw lalo. Mahusay, masipag at marangal siyang Pangulo. He tried to do what was right, even when it was not popular. Tahimik at walang pagod siyang nagtrabaho para makatulong sa marami. No amount of historical distortion can change the truth. Ngayong wala na siya, may obligasyon tayo na ipaalam sa tao kung sino talaga siya, kung ano ang nagawa niya, at kung ano ang naiwan niyang legacy. Gaya ng napatunayan natin nitong mga nakaraang linggo, walang troll army ang kayang magbura sa totoong mga kwento ng pag-asa at pagbabago mula sa mga totoong tao. Walang makinarya ng disinformation ang kayang magbaon sa data at totoong mga numero. Walang kasinungalingan at propaganda ang kayang yumurak sa alaala ng isang mabuting tao, Pangulo at Pilipino. Ito na siguro yung pinakamagandang tribute na pwede nating ibigay kay PNoy. Yung nagkakaisang komunidad na nananatiling mulat, na patuloy na nagsisikap na sabihin ang katotohanan, na patuloy lumalaban para sa bayan, at magpapatuloy sa lahat ng kanyang nasimulan. Kaya maraming salamat sa lahat ng kababaihang liberal and to the entire team behind Kapihan with my sis for opening up this space to honor our beloved PNoy. Gaya nga ng sinabi niya, may we never forget that the Filipino is always worth dying for, living for, and definitely worth fighting for. Maraming salamat at mabuhay kayong lahat.
Wow, thank you, VPL. And tama si ma'am.
Thank you.
No? Tama
Yes.
si ma'am.
Mhm.
Really, no amount
Tama.
of information can hide the truth about the many, many achievements ni President Noynoy. Lalong-lalo na pagdating sa sa eradication ng corruption, 'di ba? Ang dami niyang nagawa.
Yes.
So,
Sobrang dami.
there's 'di ba, there's the Napoles case, 'di ba? Pag-file ng mga kaso sa mga 'di ba, mga politicians who are involved in graft and corruption. So, at saka rin, ang laking bagay ng yung in-ensure niya na yung institutions ay napapatibay lalo, 'di ba? Na yeah, so
Yeah. Actually, under his term, naging mas transparent talaga ang gobyerno. And maraming mga bagay na naitama. Kumbaga, marami ring achievements sa health si Pinoy. Isa sa mga landmark legislation ng Pinoy administration was the first sin tax law that mandated na 85% of taxes na galing sa alcohol at tobacco were to go to the Department of Health. For the first time, lumaki ang budget ng Department of Health, allowing it to build and improve clinics and hospitals and to ensure that there is enough medicines for the people, among others. At saka, I think yung PhilHealth coverage din ng mga senior citizens ay bayad din from the sin tax law, if I'm not mistaken. And also, itong sin tax law din na nagbigay buhay sa universal healthcare sa Pilipinas. And of course, during sa administration ni Pinoy na ipasa ang reproductive health law na sobrang laking tulong sa ating mga kababaihan dahil guaranteed ang libreng access sa lahat ng modern family planning methods sa lahat ng government facilities.
yeah. And a bit of trivia with PhilHealth. Kasi di ba dati, kailangan nagme-member ka ng PhilHealth.
Yes.
Diba? So, pag na-hospital ka, parang kailangan you're a member of PhilHealth for a certain number of, for a year ba? Or something. Basta may ganun, hindi ko na maalala eh. Basta kailangan member ka na previously to be covered by PhilHealth. No? During his term, there was something that they called sa DOH na point of care. So, pag napasok ka sa ospital, tatanungin ka kung member ka ng PhilHealth. Pag hindi ka member ng PhilHealth, right there and then, gagawin ka miyembro ng PhilHealth. And you get the benefits.
Right away. So that's
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Oo. Nung panahon na yon. Tapos in-increase, alam ko nung time na yun din na-increase yung yung benefits, lalo na for those na nagpapa-dialysis. Parang marami, I can't remember kung ilang dialysis sessions yung kayang i-cover ni PhilHealth, pero alam ko na-increase yun during that time. So, maraming itong sa reproductive health law, I think that was one of that, and the sin tax law. It really required so much courage and guts, di ba? To do it. Kasi malaki yung mga, kumbaga, political will ito. Kasi ang laki ng industriya na binangga for the sin tax law, and sa reproductive health law, ang 'di ba, ang kalaban dito was the Catholic Church, who was not really in favor of RH. But he stood his ground, you know, he tried to do what he thought really was right. So I kind of agree with that. You know, I feel good about our discussion, pero before we continue, may isa pa tayong guest, si Au from Iloilo. So, ang tanong natin kay Au, ano ang impact sa kanya at sa kababaihan ni Pinoy?
At first, the death of President Noy for me was a loss to our fight for democracy. I was thinking that what he started off, Dadaang Matuwid, would follow his grave. I am a fan of the silent worker president. I am just as frustrated with other Pinoy supporters and believers seeing how trolls and fake news destroyed a great person. Just in the countryside, we have seen developments and progress. Iloilo, for one, had benefited with economic growth. It is something that we Ilonggos will forever be grateful. He was an inspiration to work even without the position or the power, and we can still help others without that. It is without fanfare that a leader rises along with his country. His love and patriotism for our country is what I will miss about him. May his soul rest in peace, and that he will intercede in our prayers towards what we are looking forward for, the real change.
Thank you, Elle, sa iyong mensahe. Actually, marami talagang achievements si Pinoy. Isa sa mga top achievements ni Pinoy ang pagkapanalo natin sa UN Permanent Court of Arbitration against China over the West Philippine Sea. Isa ito sa nagpatanyag sa ating bansa internationally dahil we stood up to China. And may impact din ang issue ng West Philippine Sea sa ating mga kababaihan. Actually, I say that kasi syempre kapag walang maiuwing huli ang ating mga mangingisda para sa kanilang pangkabuhayan, it is up to the women kung paano gagawa ng paraan para masupplement iyon or pagkasyan kung ano man ang meron sila na alam naman natin na sa ngayon ay hindi sapat para bumuhay ng pamilya. So, the fact na pinaglaban tayo ni Pinoy sa West Philippine Sea is something, it's really big. So,
Actually, pag-usapan na natin yung kababaihan, yung mga nanay sa tahanan, kahapon doon sa discussion, doon sa forum, doon sa on West Philippine Sea. Isang napag-usapan doon is yung galunggong. Ganito na lang kasimple yung usapan yan. Galunggong,
Yeah.
'di ba? Dahil hindi mga pangisda yung mga mangingisda natin sa ating sariling exclusive economic zone, 'di ba? Wala silang mahuli, 'di ba? Hitik doon eh. So ang humuhuli yung China
yeah.
or
Sila yung
Chinese
nakikinabang.
fishermen. Tapos binibili natin sa kanila.
Can you imagine? Kinuha nila sa bakod natin.
Anong
tapos
effect
bibili
nun?
natin.
Okay, anong effect? It's funny, but anong effect nun? 'Di ba? Ang effect nun, mas
Yeah.
mataas yung presyo ng bilihin sa palengke ng isda. 'Di ba? So, 'di ba? So, budget issue 'yan para sa ating mga nanay, 'di ba? Sakit ng ulo na naman 'yan. Paano natin i-stretch ang ating budget for the week para sa ating mga pamilya. So, may tama siya sa atin. Hindi, kumbaga parang minsan feeling mo, 'di ba, ang layo-layo, nasa dagat 'yan, nasa Masinloc 'yan, nasa ano 'yan, 'di ba? It's gaano kalayo pa ang Zambales mo na may 5 oras yata 'yan. Pero yun yung hindi natin naiisip na it's a chain. 'Di ba?
Yeah.
Na eventually dadating sa atin at tatama sa atin yung impact nung kung ano ang nangyayari doon. At hindi siya isang bagay na pinag-uusapan lang sa taas. Or hindi dapat siya isang bagay na pinag-uusapan lang sa taas dahil malaki ang epekto rin niya sa atin sa araw-araw nating pamumuhay.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And so like what you said, malaking epekto sa atin ito. Kaya yung issue sa West Philippine Sea talagang dapat niya talakayan. Although maraming binabaliktad yung istorya, para sa akin, balibaliktad man nila ang istorya, hindi maikakaila ng lahat at history na will prove na ipinaglaban talaga ni Pinoy ang karapatan ng mga Pilipino sa sarili nating teritoryo. Pinoy stood up to China kasi it was the right thing to do. Hindi niya hinayaan na tapak-tapakan lang ang mga Pilipino at kami ng ating mga resources na dapat Pilipinas ang nakikinabang. Kaya kahit na mas malaki ang China, hinarap pa rin niya ito para sa atin. Unfortunately, nandito tayo sa sitwasyon ngayon sa West Philippine Sea. So, yeah.
So, actually maraming ang mga bagay na nagawa siya na parang feeling mo parang anong importansya niyan sa buhay ko, 'di ba? So katulad nitong isang proud moment para sa atin, 'di ba, nung time niya, we left behind the label of being, the sick man of Asia, 'di ba? We were called other names like Asia's rising tiger, Asia's rising star, Asia's bright spot, 'di ba? So during that
Mhm.
6 years, tayo yung pinakamabilis na umunlad ang ekonomiya sa buong Southeast Asia. So, ang laking bagay niyan eh, 'di ba? Parang tas meron pa ngang time na I think even we even became a lending country, 'di ba? From a borrowing
Yeah.
country, we became a lending
Mhm.
country. So, I mean, malaking bagay yun at ang taas ng credit rating natin, no? Nung
Definitely, yes.
na nandoon siya. So, um, ano 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 ang ano yung halaga ba sa atin nun? Ang halaga sa atin nun is while posibleng hindi agaran, 'di ba, yung benefit na matatanggap natin tungkol diyan. Ang daming
Mhm.
ang daming benepisyo nun para sa atin. Ibig sabihin nun umuunlad yung ekonomiya natin. Pag umunlad yung ekonomiya natin, hindi man mabilis yan, hindi man agad-agad yan, 'di ba? But yung
Mhm.
pag-unlad niya would mean more jobs, 'di ba? More
Yeah.
businesses opening, mas liquid ang tao, mas gumagastos ang tao, 'di ba? Mas nabubuhay yung ekonomiya. So,
Mhm.
malaking bagay 'yon, 'di ba? And I think it was something na hindi natin, I don't know, siguro hindi natin masyadong naramdaman or it was natuwa lang tayo na masarap-sarap at magaang-gaang yung buhay natin nun, na hindi natin inisip masyado, di ba? Where it was
Exactly.
coming from and how it came about, di ba? Kasi minsan itong mga bagay na to mahirap pag-usapan kasi pinag-usapan mo numero and hindi rin naman
Mhm.
ganun kalinaw para sa atin kung anong ibig sabihin ng mga numbers na ito.
Exactly. And kaya nga nung natapos ang termino ni Pinoy, di ba pilit nga tayong ibinabagsak ng China. At pilit nila kinakamkam ang natural resources natin at yaman ng ating bansa kasi nakita na nila na capable ang Pilipinas na umangat at lagpasan sila with the right leadership. Kaya nakakapanghinayang dahil hindi na ipagpatuloy lahat ng efforts ni Pinoy after ng kanyang termino sa economy at sa lahat ng mga nangyayari sa ating bansa. During Pinoy's administration na pakaraming mga major infrastructure projects na natapos at nampisahan then with corresponding budgets, as in budgeted na all the way to the end. Kaya wala nang papababahin ng gobyerno kung paano mapupuntahan ang mga proyekto na itinayo ni Pinoy. Hindi lang yon. Actually, Pinoy also gave attention to local level projects na napakinabangan ng mga tao living in rural areas tulad ng water transmission, electric and solar power at mga bagong roads and highways. Meron ding AFP modernization which surpassed the efforts of previous presidents. Sabi nga ng AFP ay nagkaroon ng genuine transformation ng ating military under Pinoy and na-ingrain sa minds nila ang accountability, transparency at respect for human rights. At sinabi din ng AFP na lumakas ang defense and security capabilities ng ating bansa dahil kay Pinoy. And under his presidency, he enacted Republic Act number 10349 to revitalize AFP modernization. And I think overall there were 36 modernization projects worth 41.2 billion pesos na nakumpleto under Pinoy's leadership. So ang dami talaga niyang achievements, kumbaga. Hindi natin mabilang.
Hindi lang yun, no?
Mhm.
Tinaas niya ang sweldo ng mga kawani ng gobyerno.
Yes,
Oo,
exactly.
oo, yung salary standardization law, doon tumaas yung yung sahod ng mga government employees.
Mhm.
Also when it comes to ito pa yung when it comes to infrastructure, kasi for a lot of elected politicians, particularly sa local, big deal ang infrastructure project eh. Kasi it's what you have to show for eh. 'Di ba? Doon sa termino mo, parang achievement ko to, 'di ba? And it's very it's something that's very concrete, 'di ba? Nakikita, 'di ba? Pwede mo lagyan ng pangalan mo 'yon or whatever. But pero during his time, hindi siya namili. Hindi ito tungkol sa kung kakampi niya, kapartido niya, or nice.
Equal lahat.
But it was about the need nung locality. So kung kailangan nila yung tulay, kailangan i-build yung tulay, 'di ba? So hindi niya pinoditika, so to speak.
Yes.
yung
Okay.
yung mga proyekto na kinakailangan ng taong bayan. Kasi hindi naman ito tungkol doon sa kung sino man yung namumuno doon sa particular na locality na yon, di ba? Pero ito ay tungkol doon sa pangangailangan ng mamamayan.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
yan yung yeah.
Marami. Hindi natin maaano lahat ng kanyang achievements. Sobrang dami talaga. And, Pinoy really made us proud of being a Filipino. And so, yeah, from his achievements, so he really did made us proud. And I think we have another slideshow. And so those are just a few examples of his achievements and kung paano siya talaga nirespeto, hindi lang sa Pilipinas, kundi sa buong mundo. We just want to say na salamat, President PNoy, for 6 years. You brought back decency, honesty, and transparency to the government. Hindi namin iyon malilimutan. We will never forget. Sadly, dito nagtatapos ang ating special show, Celebrating PNoy, sa Kapihan with my sis. His has been an inspiring journey that will stay in the hearts of many. Do join us again on August 15th when we bring you another significant episode. And Carrie, any last words before?
Yeah, this was a nice trip down memory lane.
Yes.
Diba? Doon sa 6 na taon na with President Noy. And it was also nice na tignan kung ano na yung mga na-achieve natin, no? Lalo na yung mga may advokasya sa atin, 'di ba? Kung ano na yung mga naabot, 'di ba? So far. Yung iba naman diyan nandiyan pa rin 'di ba? Kailangan lang nating i-assert na it's there, and it's something that we can hold on to. 'Di ba?
Yes.
So
and it's definitely bittersweet. So, but it's nice to see na ang dami yung na-accomplish para sa atin, na talagang minahal niya tayo. And thank you, Attorney Carrie. And to our viewers, thank you. And do join us again on August 15th when we're bringing another significant episode sa Kapihan with my sis. And with that said, ako po si Naj.
Ako po si Carrie.
At maraming salamat sa ating mga viewers at magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Thank you po.